Good afternoon. My name is Joseph Lloyd and I source cars for people on a professional basis. Although most of the cars I source are between £1,000 and £5,000, very often I've been asked to show something a little bit cheaper on the channel, and so I came up with No Budget Reviews, the series where we look at cars that you can buy in good condition with an MOT for under £1,000 and you can enjoy driving. We don't film this in an expensive manner. We don't use separate microphones. We don't use fluid head tripods. We don't even use a DSLR, but we do have a lot of fun.
Oh, viewers, I've been waiting a long time for this to happen. This is a 1990 Rover 216 GSi Automatic, supplied originally by Henley's of Ewell, which is near Epsom. I lived in Ewell for 11 years, so I kind of know where that was actually. I know exactly where that was. It's about 5 minutes from my house. This is owned by Chris, who is supplying an awful lot of cars to channel today, and they're all rather nice, but this has a special place in my heart because I've owned two of these 5-door 216 automatics, both SLIs. This is a GSi, and I know these cars pretty well. This example is an early one. They were introduced in 1989 on a G plate, so this is an earlier one. And the original owner did specify quite a few things, such as the alloy wheels, which are the same as on a 216 GTI of the era. But apart from the original dealer plates, which still say Austin Rover on them, because presumably from the demise of Austin Rover in 1988 to when this car was registered in 1990, they still had some stock of them. But most of all, viewers, and I think we're going to have to take just a stop here. We've got something very special. Yes, viewers, it's got a beige leather interior. Even on the door cards. I do like a nice beige leather interior, viewers. It's very, very, very nice. Weirdly, the steering wheel, despite this being the absolute top model apart from the GTI at the time, is not leather. It's a plastic steering wheel that was in all of these. I'm pleased to say this car does have power steering. A lot of the sort of lesser models didn't, and even you could get the 214S, which had a carburetor engine and no wood whatsoever, and absolutely no extras, not even electric windows. But this, height adjustable driver's seat, electric sunroof, controls just down there for it, power steering with the wood. That clock's actually working as well, which is remarkable. Still got a little dash insert for the so-called T-shelf Mr. Richard's really fond of. Another option on these was to have air conditioning. This one doesn't have one, but I have seen them with it, air conditioning, and also ABS was an option. I don't think it's fitted to this particular car though, otherwise the light would come on. 81,000 miles, didn't feel like it. There's no rust on this car either, which is surprising. And the headlining is sagging a little bit, but I've seen worse on these. That's a really common fault on them. I probably would get my circumvention documents in here if we didn't have all sorts of bits and pieces in there, but you know, there we go. Ooh, wet, wet, wet. Excellent. Music of the era. It's got a beige dashboard as well, viewers. It's just very, very nice. I think it also a period Scorpion arm is fitted to this car. There's the control for the electric sunroof. There's the 4-speed Honda automatic gearbox lever. Standard handbrake. No centre console in one of these, although you do flip this up and there's a little ashtray back there for the rear passengers. It's very nice, viewers. It's so nice I'm going to get into the back. One sort of strange thing about these is I don't think you could get an R8 of this type with rear electric windows. I think maybe the Taurus had them, but I don't think I've ever seen one with a 5-door hatchback version of these with electric rear windows. You have the same window winders as in all sorts of things, like, you know, I don't know, Maestros, SD3s, all that sort of stuff. But if we get in the back, mind our head on the slightly droopy headlining. Yeah, there's enough room in here. It's not the most commodious I've seen, but we've got sort of lumbar adjustment in here. And we've got a rear armrest. Oh, in beige leather, viewers. It's very nice. Yeah, the only thing, just common issue on these is this headlining. That's it, really. Got nice leather door cards, wood inserts, even got a beige locking knob in here, adjustable height seat belts like in the Maestro. I think I might just adjust that up for when I go on a test drive, because that's what I always do. Lovely. Okay, we'll use the internal boot release today because we're feeling luxurious. If you use this spoiler to close the boot too much, sometimes they can get wobbly and fall off, so I'm just going to be careful with that. Matching parcel shelf. And here, if we lift this up and then the second bit down here, there we go. Full-size spare wheel with all the tools in here as well. The boots are reasonably capacious in these for a car of this type and this era. They're not the biggest now. They're quite flat as well, but they will hold quite a fair amount of stuff. I've been on holiday on one of these before and that was absolutely fine. Two-piece parcel shelf, interestingly. Being an early car, it's got the earlier type of rear lights in it. They're quite easy to change if you need to change a bulb and things. And the sort of red stripe in the bumper. Later cars towards the end actually had colour key bumpers and a little silver stripe in them, or sort of chrome stripe. We do like it, viewers. We like it very much. Here is the famous Honda D-Series engine, in this case a 1.6 litre unit in this pre-catalytic converter car developing 115 horsepower. This is a single overhead cam version of this engine. There was also a twin cam version available in the GTI twin cam, it was called. That developed initially 128 horsepower, and then once the catalytic converters came in 1992, it developed 122 horsepower. Same thing with these. This is a pre-cat car, so 115 horsepower. The later ones, and I have had one of those, I had a 96 version that was probably made in 95, that developed 110 horsepower. Loads of other engines available in these K series, M series, T series turbo, all kinds of stuff. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But this D series is a very, very, very reliable engine. There's only really two issues that these have. One is that they do weep from the cam cover gasket, and as you can see, this valve cover, which, you know, they all do this, the paint just eventually comes off them. It's totally normal. This has evidence of a historical weep around there, but there's nothing to worry about. It's a very easy job to do on these. And if you don't change your timing belt, of course, you've got problems. Just make sure that if you're buying one of these, that it's been done. But the D series will run without coolant, it'll run without oil. They are just amazing engines from that point of view. Also, compared with the K series, that often will sit under the bonnet of one of these, the engine turns in completely opposite direction. So things like the coolant reservoir and the gearbox are in sort of different places from what you'd expect to find them. So yes, it's really interesting that they decided that that was the best thing to do. Obviously, the R8 is the same car as underneath of the Honda Concerto. They were also built in the same factory, but you don't see many Concertos around, and some of them were available with the same D-Series engines, both the single overhead cam and twin overhead cam versions. There's also 1.5 in the Concerto, but of course the Rover had the K series, so they decided to use that instead. Right, I think it's time to go for a little drive. Oh, viewers, the throaty sound of a Honda D series engine. So when this car was launched in 1989, the engines available were a 1.4 injected K series engine developing 95 horsepower, this 1.6 single overhead cam Honda D series engine developing either 115 or 128 horsepower, depending whether you have a single overhead cam or the twin cam version. After that, there was a 2 litre that came in. First of all, the M series, that was about 136 horsepower, later replaced by the T series, that was a very similar development of that. I can't even remember what the main differences are. Somebody will tell me in the comments. I think they developed about the same power anyway. They're both 2 litre engines. About 1992, I think it was, the T series turbo was put into this car. Slightly after, it was put into the Tomcat coupe version of the R8. That developed 197 horsepower. There was a facelift of these cars in about 1993. First of all, that got the cars with kind of different indicators that sort of wrapped all around the sides of the car, and the 400 saloon versions got the sort of chrome grille that you would have seen on loads of these. That came to the normal R8 200s a bit later, but looks very smart. At the same time as that first facelift came in for the R8s, the power with the K series 1.4 was up from 95 to 103 brake horsepower. There was also a carburetted 75 brake horsepower version of the K series in the 214S and the 214 Sprint, which I think both were mainly available as a 3-door. Those weren't very well equipped at all, viewers, so you won't get power steering or wood or anything in those. For Euro 1 emissions regulations, the 75 brake horsepower 1.4 was dropped in 1992, and all the cars then had the fuel injected version. When catalytic converters came in, and I think it was in 92, to the whole 200 and 400 range, the power outputs of the Honda D series dropped from 115 in this car, the 1.6 single overhead cam, 210 horsepower, and then in the GTI twin cam it dropped from 128 to 122 horsepower. Later on, in things like the 200 Cabriolet, the 200 the Vittora, 400 Vittora initially, and the 200 Coupe Tomcat, the Honda D series engines were replaced in about 1996 with 1.6, and it was talking 1.8 versions of the K series developing 110 and 143 brake horsepower. There were also some diesels available, but as usual, we don't talk about diesels on this channel. Driving this normal version of a 200, a complete automatic one, is a very relaxing experience. They're quite noisy on the motorway at 70. It's only got a 4-speed gearbox in this automatic version. The gearbox is available where On the 1.4s, a R65 gearbox coated up with polyacetylene, which had a cable clutch in it. I don't like those unless they're really low mileage. There's a Honda PG1 gearbox in everything, right from the 1.6 up to the 2-litre turbo actually. And the main automatics were this 1.6 Honda D series. Trim levels were S right at the bottom, anyway for a little while, and then that went to just I, then SI, SLI, GSi like this, GTI, Sprint was special edition, and then the well-known 214 SCI with the lovely alloy wheels on it and the sort of part leather seats. That was supposed to be a special edition, but it was made for an awfully long time. I think from about 1993 until 1995. So they're not the run-out models that some people would believe. You say. I just think these cars are brilliant. I've just driven a Tomcat coupe version that Chris has of these, and you know they drive a bit differently. This is a lot softer, a bit more comfortable, a bit more sort of luxurious, a lot more sporty. But because of the setup, the first and struts at the front and then double wishbones at the back, it's very differently from the Concertos. Those are double wishbones all round. A very adaptable and very good platform for doing whatever you want to do. Fantastic cars. Viewers, should you consider one of these lovely Rover R8s with your hard-earned budget of up to £1,000? Why, absolutely yes. These are fabulous little cars. They make for wonderful starter classics. They do rust. This car's got virtually no rust on it, but for a budget up to £1,000, you might well find one with a bit of rust on it. It's just worth bearing in mind. Most of the engines, we're looking at petrols, of course, only because this is the channel that we're on. Do have cam belts in them, and just making sure that those have been changed properly is a good idea. And just general sort of things like making sure the fan works on all speeds, because the heat resistor failure is a very common problem on R8s. Yes, they're wonderful, and I sort of really want another one now. Anyway, thank you ever so much indeed for watching this episode of No Budget Reviews. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more of the same. Don't forget to like this video, leave a comment below, switch on notifications, be informed of new uploads. Thank you to Chris again for lending me his lovely jewel of his collection. And see you again soon.